Oh, then here we are, brother.
All right. I will apologize in advance. My cat likes to think that she is part of the interview process as well, so she might be poking her head in from time to time and having a little something to say.
I don't mind one bit. Um, I love your station, dude. When I found out that I was going to be talking to you, I checked it out. Holy fuck, that station's awesome.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate that, man.
Oh man, I'm thrilled to be on it because I come from the metal background. So
Yeah.
and we got a new song coming out, and so to be a part of your station is and promoting not only the song but the show. I'm speechless. Thank you.
Yeah, when Casey hit me up to let me know that you might be available, I'm like, okay, so we're all big. I mean, first of all, just Marvel geeks at the station, and
Right.
we're all big into the rock music, so it's like checking both boxes. All right.
Fantastic. I'm stoked.
I will take that. Welcoming to the show today, someone you may know from Snowpiercer. You may know him from Van Helsing, Cold Pursuit with Liam Neeson, War for the Planet of the Apes, and, well, one of the most recent and biggest hits, the leader of the Tracksuit Mafia, played Ivan in Marvel's Hawkeye, talking to Aleks Paunovic. Alex, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. That's quite the intro. I kind of dug that very much so with the appearance of your cat. This is great.
Yes.
This is perfect.
I'm very happy to have you on here. We've got several things we want to talk about. And the first thing I want to talk about is where I actually first remember seeing you in a show, and that would be Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency.
What a great show.
That absolutely was. What was it like to work on that set?
I absolutely loved that set. Most of the characters were Canadian and Vancouver actors, believe it or not. I love the fact that they cast that locally because they shot it in Vancouver. But at the end of the day, most of that talent was, and the characters were just so outrageous. So when I remember getting, the first look of what my character would look like once I got the job, and they had the buttons and the beard. I'm like, this is so crazy, but it's so cool. And they allowed me to kind of create something that people really dug and that fit into the show. And what's really interesting about that, Lee Majub, who was I was his sidekick in that section of my thing. He is actually on Sonic Hedgehog with Jim Carrey.
Right.
So yeah, so it's kind of cool. We're good friends, and it's kind of cool to see his success kind of skyrocketing a little bit because I think it's the biggest movie in the world right now. So, but yeah, we both came from Dirk Gently, and that was a really fun show to be a part of.
You were mentioning how that was filmed in Canada, and I think you spend your time kind of part in LA and part in Canada because it's where you're from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm originally from an amazing town / city called Winnipeg, and then I moved to Vancouver on my way to Los Angeles, and that was right when 9/11 happened. So I couldn't they weren't allowing anybody into the States.
Yeah.
And so I basically bunked up in Vancouver and just started, trying to get an agent and trying to get work and, doing what I could to kind of stay in the game, and took a lot of workshops, took a bunch of classes. I got into the game late because when I started in quote unquote entertainment, I started in metal. Like I was 14, 15 years old playing in a metal band. And we started to play bars, like bars at night, but they would usher us upstairs to the hotel because we weren't allowed to be in a bar because we were so young.
Right.
So we would just play, we would literally right from the stage, they would take us right through the back door. And then we would have to go upstairs to a hotel room and just kind of wait for our next set to play and then go back down. And so we did quite a few of those.
Nice. I've had a lot of friends who've grown up in the music industry, and I know that's how it's been for some of the younger ones. It's like,
that's right.
The only reason they're in the bar and allowed in the first place is because they're part of the band.
Right. Exactly.
Now, one thing I've noticed, I'll say recently, I mean it within the past, I'll say 10 years, because things started to get to us. Canadian comedy TV series.
Kids in the Hall.
Amazing. Trailer Park Boys.
Letterkenny.
Letterkenny is my current, like, it's the funniest show on TV.
I don't have the vocabulary to say how amazing those guys are. They're phenomenal. Everybody that's a part, and I'm friends with most of those guys, and them putting the show together and the way they did it and it becoming a hit, and Brad Pitt calling him out, like I think it was on the red carpet. Somebody's E.T. Canada was doing an interview, and they're like, Letterkenny. Brad Pitt's like, Letterkenny, one of my favorite shows, and we were all like, what?
Yeah,
like super happy for our friends' success. So yeah. Hilarious.
Are there any other Canadian comedies that people in the States need to be aware of that they're not already?
Oh man. Well, as you know, Schitt's Creek was a Canadian comedy, and that one just kind of went crazy.
Yep.
I haven't been following what's going on lately, but for sure Letterkenny and the new Kids in the Hall, they came back, and after X amount of years,
yeah,
they're on Amazon doing their thing again for a Canadian. It's really cool to see that happening. So there's just a lot of, like, one of my favorite Canadian / American comics is Caroline Ray, and I think she's hilarious. And we've done a couple films together, and she was doing a few shows in town, or not in town, like a couple in Canada. She's got a new show coming out, but it's just filled with Canadian talent, and it's kind of awesome to follow. Russell Peters, come on, like all these killer talents.
Yeah, I'm glad that, like I said, now that with the advent of streaming, that we can finally start getting things like that here, because I'd hate to think living in a world where we don't get that, like, caliber of comedy. It's like that would be very unfortunate for everybody.
Yeah, I really hope it is it like Letterkenny is something that a lot of people know where you are.
It's growing.
Right.
I do very much consider myself an ambassador. I've got some official merch that I'll wear around. Anytime we're talking about TV somewhere, I'm like, hey, have you seen Letterkenny? Everybody I've worked with is probably tired of me talking about it, except for those who have seen it, who love it.
It like the dialogue and the speed of the dialogue and the type of dialogue fucking kills me. It's so good.
It's
so
nonstop from start to end of episode. It just doesn't let up at any point.
And they have a new show that they're kicking off. I don't know if you knew that.
Yep.
Yeah, Shoresy, right?
Shoresy comes out this month.
That's right, and you're gonna love that. A lot of my friends are in that one too, and you're gonna love it. These guys are awesome.
Yeah, I know it comes out on Crave there in Canada about a week earlier, but before it hits Hulu in the US. So I may have to hit you up for your Crave account login and watch that a little early.
All right, I'll get that to you. That's awesome.
So I want to take things back and talk about, before you got into entertainment, you were into the metal band, as we mentioned. And before that, you were kind of following along in the family business.
With boxing.
Yes.
Actually, believe it or not, it was flipped.
Oh, okay.
So how it went down was, like I love to box. I love the sport of boxing. But, as you're a kid and you're a rambunctious kid, and you kind of like butt heads with your old man. I have 3 generations of boxers in my family: my dad, my uncle, my grandfather. So I grew up knowing how to box and absolutely loving it. But the relationship I had with my dad wasn't that great. So I would not want to box, because that meant I would have to spend time with him. But I would sneak around and try to box other places. But if he found out, that was never good. So living in like I just didn't want, as a kid, I just didn't want to be around him. And then I discovered music, and he had no interest in music.
Oh,
so
there
that was something. So I was like, oh, okay. So as you don't really know yourself when you're a kid, and you just gravitate to things that don't that give you pleasure more than the other side of it. And when you're in your early teens, and my dad and I just didn't get along. But the one thing we did get along with is watching boxing. That was the only time we really kind of connected, was watching it. And then as time went on, and I was playing in my metal band, my dad was in a state of limbo, and probably a little bit of depression. And so I basically went to the boxing gym that I was going to. I was like, okay, listen, I was thinking about, I was later, I was in my 20s. And I said, look, I told the guys, I've never come here before. I'm going to bring my dad, and it's going to be my first time coming into this gym. So, because he's going to be just watching and kind of like wanting to check out the place. He would hate to know that I've gone without him. So they were awesome. They were like, oh yeah, come on in. And my dad starts showing him some combinations, and he's now in the environment of a boxing gym again. And he didn't stop going to that gym or teaching boxing for over 30 years since that time. So our relationship grew. I started my boxing career while I was playing in a metal band in the amateurs, and I won the provincial amateurs here in Alberta and Saskatchewan and Manitoba, and I did the pre-Pan American Games, and my shoulder came out. I was up 9-0, man.
Oh,
and my shoulder came out of the socket, and that was, the surgery, and then the surgery wasn't that great. And then I just started slowly discovering acting, and that to me was something I have massive respect for the sport of boxing. So I don't like to go into it half-assed. It's something that has to be full on or not full on. So I still do it. I still go train. I still spar a little bit, but it's not my focal point.
The focal point now being acting, and one of the most recent films that you've been in, you actually got to star with Anthony Hopkins in Zero Contact, which two very interesting things about the film. Number one, how it was even shot in the first place.
Yeah. Now let me backtrack. So Rick Dugdale, who directed Zero Contact, I knew as a producer. And one of my first films that I did in my hometown of Winnipeg, I didn't really click in, but he was a producer on, and Dan Petrie Jr., who wrote Beverly Hills Cop, was the director of a film called Framed with Sam Neill and Rob Lowe.
Okay.
And I was already now a part of the stunt community, because my first acting gig was, just a quick little thing, but because Winnipeg had such a small stunt community, they were like, there's a big guy and he's a nice guy, and let's see, and he's athletic, let's get him on the stunt team. And so I started doing stunts, and it was a trip, man, because I would play in the band. So I'm on a stage and I'm playing in front of all these people, and your ego is just being filled because people are loving your work. And then I would like pack up my bass, go like 2:30 in the morning to the night shoot where now I'm basically a gopher, and I get the mats. I'm getting guys coffee. Don't talk to the talent. I'm teaching you the industry of the stunt community. And it was a trip that, being here ego wise, and then being down here, just kind of being an apprentice and learning. So it was a trip, but I just love the acting and the aspect of that community. So I did that film called Framed. And then years later, there was another film came out that they were casting called Blackway, which starred Ray Liotta, Julia Stiles, and Anthony Hopkins. And I went in to go read for it, and it was with Dan Petrie Jr. and who was a producer of it. I was like, oh, I remember him. And Rick was now a co-producer with him. And so they started working together. So I got the gig, became great friends with Rick, who is one of my best buds right now, and became really good friends with Hopkins in that moment. And then you fast forward, and that was probably maybe five or 6 years ago, I think. And then you fast forward to pandemic happening, and Rick and I have always kept in touch, hoping to work together again. The pandemic happened, and he was already going to Europe to do a film that they obviously couldn't leave the country because of the pandemic.
Right.
But the team wanted to stay creative. So they were like, maybe we should just do something like on a Zoom, like a Zoom movie. And so Cam Cannon, who's an amazing writer, threw together in under 2 weeks this very fascinating script, a story by Rick and Cam. And this would be Rick's first directorial debut. And it just started out as just us doing what we're doing right now with the script idea, and I would be reading my lines opposite of basically not really the cast, just the whole behind the scenes guy. So I would have Tink, who did the production design, going, hey, can you move that lamp in the back of your house a little bit? I'll do that. And then we had wardrobe going, yeah, not that shirt. That shirt's showing too many stripes. So change the shirt. And so like, hey, can you make sure the mic's kind of set up this way? And I made sure the camera was on. Like I was my own DP, but they were making sure everything looked great on this side.
Yeah.
And then everyone would go on mute, and I would do the lines with the first AD. So I would have to imagine the circumstance and where we are, and not really talking to the actor that I'm actually supposed to be talking to, because we were all in different time zones, 17 countries around the world. So once they were done with my portion, they would go to Japan and shoot that portion. They would go to Serbia and shoot that portion. So they were doing all-nighters.
Wow.
But it was just super fun to do. And Anthony Hopkins wasn't even a part of the idea in the beginning. That's the craziest part.
Really?
He came in late. Rick asked him to be a part of the film almost when it was absolutely done. And he loved the idea of it and where the story would be going. And so Tony jumped in and made the film, like, as he does every film, unbelievable. I'm so proud of Zero Contact 1, and the success of Zero Contact 1 and everyone loving the experience. We're now going off to shoot Zero Contact 2 and 3. So it's a part of a franchise now, which is going to be really exciting. And I'm really looking forward to people to watch it, because Lionsgate just picked it up. So now it's going to be available to the masses May 27th. Limited release, theatrical release, and then hitting, I think it's Amazon after that.
Nice. I'm glad you brought the sequels up, because that was my next point, was that it did well enough being filmed on phones and computer cameras and GoPros that they're like, and
a drone that got us almost in trouble because nothing was happening. Nothing was happening. Like you couldn't get a license or approval to shoot with your drone. So we just kind of did it at 3:00 in the morning. And this drone is coming in and I'm doing the scene. You can even see it in the trailer, like this outside shot looking into my apartment. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, somebody like was going, what the hell are you doing with the drone at 3:00 in the morning? And they're like, we're just kind of like hanging out, and the neighbor goes, you better get the hell out of here, because people don't want you looking in their houses with the drone. He goes, no, we're actually just shooting a movie. We're not looking at anybody's houses. Like it was one of those things where we just rogue shot it. And it was a fun thing to do. Obviously, where we weren't looking at anybody else's house. We were lucky because we were the only lights that were on at 3:00 in the morning. So if there was any other lights in the other apartments, and we could see somebody, that would have been a problem. But luckily, the 4 units around my spot was totally dark, so you don't even know like where it is. So it's
nice. This new project that is coming up, I want to talk about, because much like Zero Contact, this new show is an NFT.
Well, yeah, it's so interesting. So House of Kiba released basically 10,000 very unique robots as an NFT, and just like a 2D version in the NFT community, and the rarities, each one was different, and it in 40 minutes it made more than $6 million.
Whoa!
And so right. And so one of my best friends of 15 years, Neil Stevenson Moore, who was a part of the project, came to me and said, "Look, there was a really successful launch of this drop of this NFT, like exceeded what we thought would happen. We want to give more to that community who bought this stuff. And so we want to make a TV show called GenZeroes. And would you be the executive producer and help build the team?" Because he knows that I'm a part of the industry, the sci-fi industry. So, being on Van Helsing for 5 years, Matt Venables and Jeremy Smith, who are amazing writers and producers. I brought them in as showrunners to develop and create this show. Totally their idea. They created that concept, but on the back of the strength of the NFTs that were made. So we made it a lot about not robots, but they were armor.
Okay.
Right. So that's how GenZeroes came about. So it's not necessarily an NFT project as much as it's a sci-fi show with NFT components.
Okay.
Which to our community is something that we're really excited about because I'm not a big NFT guy at all. I'm a big sci-fi guy. And I like the idea of giving the community as much utilities and as much things that they can buy and sell to each other and to friends. Like just back in the days when you had hockey cards and you would trade hockey cards and stuff. That to me is exciting. So we have 10 different faction leaders, and it's a story being told 200 years in the future. It basically happens like in today's day and age. We had the pandemic. Well, also aliens attacked, and they weren't here. The aliens didn't come here to destroy the world. The aliens just came to take all of our resources. So they had little docking stations and just sucked up all our resources. Anybody that fought them, like the world came together to fight the aliens, and whoever fought didn't make it. And whoever just hid away and was just hoping everything would kind of go away, kind of survived because it wasn't about going after the humans. So the population, 200 years. So in that 200 years, the population is about, the Stone Age type vibe, maybe 1 billion people around the world, maybe.
Gotcha.
But the technology is 50 times more advanced because these aliens left a lot of these docking stations. So we reverse engineered it.
Okay.
So the technology is next level, but the population is at a Stone Age. And so as the years go on, everyone was working together to build a better life. But as time goes on, people have different ways of how life should be lived. So 10 factions were created or were developed because they had 10 different ways of how the earth and how the world should be. So that's where our story begins, 200 years in the future, 22. And it's really exciting. Those guys did such an amazing job writing this show. And we have an amazing cast. We have Paul White, who was the Big Show.
Yeah, Big Show.
Yeah. So we have him a part of it. We have Richard Harmon, who was one of the leads on The 100. Bethany Brown, one of the leads on The 100. Tomo Pennicott, who was one of the leads on Battlestar Galactica. Candace McClure, one of the leads on Battlestar Galactica. Nicole Muniz, who came in late into Van Helsing and became one of the leads. So we Praneet Killa, who is blowing up right now, doing amazing things. Mark Hildreth, Jess Stanley. We just have an amazing cast that jumped in on this new idea to become the world's first sci-fi driven NFT project. And the utilities that come with that is just that's what's exciting to me. It's not just dropping an NFT. We're dropping, the first 3 chapters are going to be on our website, GenZeroes.com, for free. Like we want the people to see what we're doing, and then the rest of the chapters are going to be gated. So you have to buy the NFT to watch it. It's the same as you want to buy a movie on Apple, or rent a movie on Apple. So, and what I really love about this project is that the first chapter is live action, so you get to see the actors. And it chronologically moves right into the second chapter, which is a comic book, not animation, but it's literally a comic book where you get to see the expanse of the world, and you get to really see. And I like it in a way because I grew up reading comic books, and it's such an individualistic art because I'm taking it in the way I want to read it. Yeah. I'm looking at the art the way I want to look at it and take my time looking at it. I love the individual aspect of that. And when you go to live action, our whole thing as filmmakers is I want you to feel something let's say it's a drama, the music's going to go in a certain way, the camera's going to push in a certain way. Our job is to get to evoke an emotion out of you if it's a drama. So if we do our job right, you will feel something. With the comic book, it's your personal experience. Mm-hmm. So we go from live action into the comic book, and then the next one, it would be live action introducing the next faction into the comic book to see their world.
Oh, wow.
So I think that's some of the things that to me is just really exciting about the project and about the NFTs of it. For instance, there's a scene in one of the episodes where one of the characters gets a message, and it's almost like a silver dollar size thing that he puts to his temple, and he looks up, and you could see in his eyes, he's watching something or only he can watch, and it's not good news. You can tell it's not good news. And then he's just kind of like, okay, we'll see how that turns out. The NFT of that will be, you can actually buy the message that he got to see of the actor.
Cool.
That gave him that information. And then once you're done with it, you can sell it to somebody else that's really interested in the actor or really wanting to see what the message is. And that kind of thing can go start pinballing all over because people want to see it.
Yeah,
that's what I love, the fact of the interaction that the crowd can have and be a part of it. And also moving into the metaverse. Like, we have a lot of great ideas of how, you can have this big bar room scene in the metaverse. And let's say I'm doing this speech on this bar. We haven't done this yet, but this is where we're going. I'm doing this big speech. I'm standing on the bar addressing everyone. You can literally take a walk to one of the characters that's watching me do the speech and hearing him whisper what he thinks about the speech.
Oh,
then you can walk to the other side and hear what the other leads think of this speech. So you're getting inside information in the metaverse and being a part of the NFT aspect of it. And it's the Web3 idea of to be a part of a show, especially sci-fi, is something that's just super exciting. And again, to me, I'm having the best time of my life. It's so much fun creating the characters, naming the characters, having great talent that I've worked with before, being a part of the show. And I think we're doing something really special with the utilities that we have a part of this community. My big thing is just, I love the idea of giving back, because then they give it back to us.
Yeah.
And it's just something that I'm really excited about. And just, as you can tell, I'm just super blown away that I'm even in this position, that we can create something like this for the fans. It's artistic driven. It's artist driven. That's what I love about it. And even like you can sell an NFT of a costume that the costume designer drew out and said, what do you guys think about this? That's totally it. That's exactly what we want. Well, that person the costume designer that just drew that can actually sell that as an NFT. And there could be costume designers all over the world that want to get inspired and go, oh, I love the costume. I love what the wardrobe is in this. And I'm going to buy that and then hold on to it or sell it to someone else that's also interested. Yeah. That's what I love about it, is that it's ever growing and ever moving.
And of course, along with the release of this show, which is May 18th.
May 18th, yes.
One very special thing about the show, aside from everything you've just mentioned, is the soundtrack, as it features a band I think you've probably heard of called Specula Black. Specula Black. You familiar with them?
I am actually familiar with them. that was the band. So the band started called Misbehavin'. Okay. That's what 16-year-olds would call a band. Mm-hmm. And then as we moved on and got out of high school and everything, we changed the name of the band. And so there's songs that and the whole inception of this is 5th season of Van Helsing. And now we've already recorded before, and Tony Brenda, who's our guitar player, but also is producing the stuff that's coming out now. And he remastered some of the songs that we recorded 30 years ago, and he put it on a Spotify. Right. And yeah, and how that happened was John Walker, who was our showrunner for Van Helsing season 5. So basically, it's my last episode, and he just says to me, hey, I know you played in a band before. Do you have anything that you did that you recorded that we can use for maybe your fight scene or something? And I was like, uh, yeah, I can get that. So I called my boys and I go, can we remaster one of the songs? Because I knew exactly which song. It's called Roller Cane,
Mm-hmm.
and it's on all of our all streaming music streamers out there, Spotify and YouTube and that, and Roller Cane. So we put a section. I was great. He was gracious enough to allow us to be a part of the show. And my last episode, after 5 years playing the role of Julius, that he puts my band song in the show, which inspired us to record some of the other songs that we didn't end up recording when we were playing. So the new single that's coming out June 1st is called Shackle Man, and written and one of my best friends in the world, Scalita in Essex, who passed about 7 years ago, one of the most creative guys you'll ever meet. And so him and I wrote this song, and then I brought it to the band, and we just loved it so much that the band, we put our metal version twist on it, and Scully was just like there in spirit, and we re-recorded it. Well, we recorded it. We never recorded it before. We recorded Shackle Man, which is in the first episode of somewhere in the first episode. You'll hear it in GenZeroes, and I'm just honored that we got to do that. And how that happened was the Discord. Do you know anything about Discord?
Yep.
Yeah. So Discord, great. I love the Discord because it's like if you're an asshole on it, they just kick you out. Like
Exactly.
Twitter, right? It's not like Twitter where you can say anything you want behind a keyboard and not get punched in the face. And I'm not a fan of those guys. But it feels like an ethical Twitter to me. Just Discord. It's like everyone supports each other. And so sure enough, one of the guys on our Discord just said, "Hey, Aleks, I know. What about Specula Black? You going to put Specula Black in your show?" And we kind of all looked at each other at one of our Discords, and I just kind of went, well, "Yeah, let's put Specula Black in one of the shows." So they inspired that happening and being put in the first episode.
And you have sent me over a copy of that song. And so I think as long as it's okay with you, we can give my listeners a little bit of a preview.
Oh, my God. Please do. Please throw down some Specula Black. Shackle Man.
Thank you so much, first of all, for joining me and spending time with me today. It was great to learn about kind of how you started, what you're doing now, what's in the future, both with your acting and with your music. Do you have anything kind of on the horizon that you want to tell people about?
Yeah, well, I'm almost signed. I can't really talk about. I'm signing on to another film in the summer, so can't talk about that.
Okay.
Talk about GenZeroes. Yeah, and I starting season 4 of Snowpiercer. I think like this other movie is something that I just can't talk about just yet.
Gotcha.
Until the contract's closed,
I understand. I personally am in discussion with several male model magazines that I am potentially going to be the cover model for.
I believe
I can't say anything yet.
I get it, man.
I've signed so many NDAs and non-competes. I can't do anything about it. But Aleks, thank you once again so much for joining me. I look very forward to checking out GenZeroes, which, like you said, the first 3 episodes are going to be available on the website for free on Wednesday, May 18th.
Yeah, well, yeah, it'll be in succession, but the first one is going to be May 18th. And then a week later will be the next chapter. And then a week later will be the next chapter. Yeah. So we're doing it, we're blocking it out, but it's those ones will be ungated, meaning you can go on to www. Oh, I can't believe I said that. That's old school.
Yeah.
Go to GenZeroes.com. Throw in your email and you will be able to see the chapters as they come in the next 3 weeks. And then our first NFT with utilities and everything. And you can only watch the everything after the third chapter if you buy an NFT. And we really hope we really hope you guys love the show and want to jump on our train. All right, brother.
Have a good one, Aleks. Thank you, guys.
All right, man. Be well.
Bye, Casey, for listening.
Bye, Casey.
I'm here. Thank you, guys.
You little creeper.
Right?
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.